So today we're going to do a short video clip on how to pitch the Force 10 tents, which we use at Bronze. Inside the bag we'll have everything rolled up together. Remember always that you have 3 bags with any tent. You have your tent bag, and then we'll also have a pole bag and a peg bag. We need to make sure that we don't lose those whilst we are pitching the tent, and they go inside the inner of the tent where you sleep, so that they don't get lost during the night. Okay, so pole bag and peg bag here. So we're going to put those to one side. We're going to separate the outer from the inner tent, and then we're going to lay out the inner where we're going to pitch it. Okay, the door, you need to choose which end you want that at. So if the ground is slightly sloping, then you need to make sure that's at the uphill end, and we need to always make sure the zips are fully done up before we start pitching the tent, in order for it to be able to get the right kind of shape. Now we're going to start off perhaps by putting a few pegs into a couple of key points in the inner tent, and then we'll use some of the rest of the pegs to pitch the fly sheet. So we're going to really go for the corners at this stage in terms of pegging out the inner. Okay. So we don't need to put in all of the pegs straight away, but these areas where the poles are going to be, it's quite handy to have these pegged out. Now in terms of the angle that your tent peg goes in at, you want it to be 45 degrees pointing away from your tent like this, okay? That means that as the tent pulls on the peg, it's got a nice secure kind of placement in there. If you were to put that tent peg in vertically, like this, or angled in this direction, what happens is the tent rides up and then just lifts it out of the ground, okay? So we're going in 45 degrees angled away like that. And if you find that the bit that you're trying to peg in is going into very, very tough ground, then the sort of recommendation is that you just use your sturdy footwear and you just press down with your toes like this, and that's the best way to do it without bending the tent peg, okay? So just pressing down on that 45-degree angle seems to work quite well for us.
Don't forget to make sure it's taut. So we've got a nice shape there.
Okay.
Stick in your pegs.
Right, now what we're going to do is we're going to erect our poles. So for the Force 10 A-frame tent, we've got 5 poles. We need to locate the ridge pole, which is the one with the 2 holes in here. That's where the apex pieces go in. And most of our ridge poles are going to have this strengthening collar, and that goes into the middle. So it's this tube that slides over the top, and that strengthens that middle joint to make sure that it doesn't bend or break. Okay. So this ridge pole is going to go in the middle of the tent, and then we'll get the apex pieces from inside the peg bag, and we'll use those to join the legs together in pairs, and then we'll position those over the top of the tent. So now you can arrange your poles so that they're central over the tent, and while one of you holds that, the other person can start clipping on the inner. So we've got attachment points at the front and the back and the middle. Remember, this middle one here needs to go over the pole strengthening sleeve, okay? Okay, any remaining pegs for the inner can go in now that you can see the shape, and you can pull out these back areas here just to give you the required amount of sleeping space. And then I think we're ready to put the fly sheet on. The fly sheet's already zipped up, and that's really, really important. And just be careful as you drag the fabric over the top of the ridge, that you don't let the spikes on top of the apex pieces damage the fly sheet fabric. So the spikes go through the little brass holes in the fly sheet. And then you might need to adjust the legs again in order to make sure that the poles follow the seams in the side of the tent, and that's a really, really important principle when pitching any tent. The poles and the seams should always line up, okay? We can use our remaining pegs.
Hang on, missed a bit.
Ah, brilliant. So
Fix on there.
connecting the inner to the fly sheet, if you can, using the hooks and attachments, helps to give you a bit more sleeping space in the sides of the tent.
And also, if it rains, the two bits don't touch, so you don't get soaked.
That's the peg for that one. Spare one there.
Yeah.
And there we have it, Force 10 pitched, ready to sleep in. You'll notice that all the sides of the tent are nice and taut. The guy ropes there that Mr. Marcelli is holding, we'll pitch those out in just a moment, and they'll provide a bit of extra stability from the wind, and also help to keep the two sheets, the inner and the outer, separated, which is really important to keep you dry inside. Okay? Great, there we go.